You're watching the ANEC Sports Podcast on YouTube. The show starts right now.
Hello and welcome to episode 34 of the ANEC Sports Podcast. My name is Sam Frick. I'm the founder and editor at Around the Northeast Corner, covering schools across Northeast Indiana and Elkhart County. So we are recording here right around 4 p.m. on Friday, June 13th, 2025. And we are essentially towards the very end of the 2024-2025 school year. We're basically right at the 1 yard line, if you would, of this school year. Just baseball semi-state left. Softball state finals will come to an end after tomorrow, but none of our area schools made it to state. So that's it for softball coverage for this year. We'll recap what happened in regionals and semi-state matter of moments. And track and field concluded their state finals as well last week. And then boys golf, they have made it through regionals. So now the boys golf tournament is down to the state finals. So we're down to boys golf state finals. We're down to baseball semi-state, and that's pretty much it for this school year. We'll talk more about how things are going to work for the end of season content in a matter of moments. But first, let's get to the talk around the corner. Let's go ahead and we begin with softball, since that is the one sport that came to an end relatively first, although you can argue track was ended as well on that same weekend. And let's go ahead and kick things off with Class 1A in terms of the regionals. And Fremont and Southwood, they were the two teams that made it to regionals. Southwood took care of business via forfeits over Cambridge City Lincoln. Fremont, unfortunately, saw their season coming to an end in the hands of South Central Union Mills 9-0. So Southwood was the only team left in our area in the 1A state tournaments. They defeated South Central Union Mills 6-3 at Frontier, but unfortunately fell to North Newton in the championship game 7-0. So Southwood's season comes to an end in the semi-state championship game at 21-11. That is the Final Four for those that don't know. Meanwhile, Fremont's season came to an end with a record of 13-12. We go to Class 2A, and entering last week in Class 2A, we had Central Noble that made it to regionals. We had South Adams that made it to Class 2A, and in a tightly contested ball game in Albion, Indiana, the Central Noble Cougars defeated the South Adams Starfires by the score of 4-3, which Grace Swink really got things going early on in the game with a 2-run home run. I believe it was the first inning, and that gave her 10th home run of the season. And while South Adams did make a comeback to eventually take a lead in this game, in which Central Noble led 3-1 at one point, Central Noble did get a timely hit from Kennedy Weiss. A timely sacrifice ground out from Katie Forker that allowed Kennedy Weiss to score the event game-winning run, in which Weiss ended up recording 2 hits in that contest, and Central winning that game 4-3, with Grace Swink being the winning pitcher for the Cougars. South Adams, their season comes to an end at 24-6, and a great run. It feels like the end of an era for South Adams softball in a way, but they still have a nice group coming back. Central Noble, they won their 24th game at that point. Unfortunately, they fell in the Kokomo semi-state semifinals to Rossville 6-5. Central Noble led 5-1 in the 6th inning, and then Rossville came storming back to win it in walk-off fashion by the score of 6-5. And unfortunately, Central Noble just could not quite get it done in the end, as the Cougars season came to an end at 24-6. Rossville played Rochester in the regional and defeated the Rochester Zebras 9-2. Rochester season came to an end with an impressive record of 21-5. Taking a look at Class 3A, regionals had Mississinawa in regional play. You had Columbia City in regionals. You had Bishop Dwayne in regionals. In fact, Ole Miss and Dwayne played each other in regional play. I believe this was actually played at Homestead, if I recall. But nonetheless, Miss Centerville defeated Dwayne by the score of 9-2 before falling to Western in the Twin Lakes semi-state 2-0. As Ole Miss's deepest playoff run since 2011 came to an end with a record of 21-5. Columbia City made it to their first regional in 2022, and just like 2022, they won their first regional since that year with an 8-3 comeback victory over John Glenn. Unfortunately, they were shut out by Hanover Central in the Twin Lakes semi-state semifinals, where Hanover Central won that game 5-0. Columbia City season ends at 19-8. Hanover Central would go on to knock off the reigning 3 champions Western in the championship game 2-1 for semi-state. Obviously, Hanover Central does have to play Indianapolis Cathedral tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. as it is 1A and 4A today. It's 2A and 3A tomorrow for softball. So in case you're wondering how that works. Class 4A, Carroll and Homestead, they advanced to regionals in 4A. They played each other in the regional championship game where Carroll defeated Homestead 10-0 in 5 innings on a perfect game from Taylor Danley. Danley also hit a home run in this game as well. And then Elkhart, who played in their first ever regional game, they fell to Penn by the score of 10-0. Unfortunately for Carroll, they ran into a red-hot Crown Point team in the Harrison semi-state semifinals, where Crown Point shut out Carroll 3-0 before Crown Point ended up defeating Penn in the championship game of semi-state 4-2. Crown Point will be playing Center Grove tonight at 8 o'clock for the 4A state championship. Carroll's season comes to an end at 23-6. Homestead season comes to an end at 22-7. And so that concludes softball. We take a look at, let's go ahead and look at track and field first, and then we will from there take a look at boys golf, and then we'll last talk about baseball. Let's kick things off with track and field, and I think it's right now I'm on the boys side, so we'll go ahead and just start with the boys state finals and then work our way from there. So in the boys state finals, some notable finishes that took place at North Central High School in Indianapolis. It looks like this. Colson Kugler placed 9th in the 100 at 10.87 seconds, representing the Wabash Apaches. Let's see. The 200 had Alonzo Newbern place 4th in the 200-meter final at 21.83 seconds. Colson Kugler also placed 7th for Wabash at 21.93 seconds. In the 400-meter, 400-meter, Jaden Fisher of Northridge finished 10th at 48.71 seconds. Not too far behind him was Nolan Miller of Leo at 48.9 seconds. In the 800-meter, Caleb Barnard of Elkhart Christian placed 4th at 1 minute and 53.98 seconds. Jackson Yoder Concord placed 7th at 1 minute and 54.63 seconds. Luke Kincaid of Bremen placed 8th at 1 minute, 54.88 seconds. In the 1600, Noah Bontrager not only won the 1600-meter state finals, he also won the 3200-meter state run. In the 1600, Noah Bontrager ran at a time of 4 minutes and 2.6 seconds, which I believe that is a new state finals record for the 1600. Noah Bontrager winning the state finals there. And then the 3200, he ran a time of 8 minutes and 51.22 seconds. Very impressive stuff from the junior Noah Bontrager, who is committed to Notre Dame. Some notable performances in the 1600 and 3200, starting with the 1600. Baylor Miller actually placed 2nd at a time of 4 minutes and 7.83 seconds, representing Northridge. Maxwell Malloy placed 7th at a time of 4 minutes and 12.1 seconds. Xander Reitnauer of Lakewood Park placed 9th at a time of 4 minutes and 12.25 seconds. And then not too far behind, Hunter Allen of Wawasee placed 11th at a time of 4 minutes and 17.4 seconds. Meanwhile, in the 3200, you had Jackson Gackenheimer placing 6th at a time of 9 minutes and 5.18 seconds. And that's pretty much the notable finishes in the 3,200. 110-meter hurdles look like this in terms of notable finishes. Actually, we had no area finishers in the 110-meter finals. Let's see here. But in the 300-meter hurdles, we actually had a finish from Braylon Tisdale of Homestead. He placed ninth with a time of 38.72 seconds. And then Aaron Hoffer of New Haven placed 10th at a time of 39.09 seconds. Okay, let's see here. Oops. Just want to take a look here. Let's see. We've now looked at the relays, starting with the. Let me make sure. I'm taking a look at this real quick here. 4x800 Warsaw placed 8th with a time of 7 minutes and 51.67 seconds. That was the one area school that finished in the top 10. In the high jump, Jordan Randall of Warsaw won a state championship with a score of 7 feet. Dustin Richardson of West Snowball placed 4th at 6 feet 7 inches. Danny Kelly of Bishop Lures, who is committed to Purdue Fort Wayne, placed 5th with 6 feet and 6 inches. Hayden Court of Lakewood Park placed 9th in a 4-way tie with 6 feet 6 inches. He does earn a point for Lakewood Park, however. So good job on Hayden Court. In pole vaults, Teron Davis of Leo placed a tie for 6th at 14 feet 9 inches. Long jump, Jace Harmon of Norwell, he placed 7th with 23 feet and 2.5 inches. And then shot put, Weston Ott of Churubusco placed 2nd with 62 feet and 9.5 inches, coming up just short of that state championship, which was won by Benjamin Brown of Southport. James Leiter not too far behind, but still a little bit of wiggle room between 2nd and 3rd. James Leiter Warsaw recorded a score of 59 feet and 4 inches. His teammate Cameron Kaufman finished with 57 feet and 6.25 seconds. And then Nick Hofer of Fairfield placed 13th with 55 feet and 5.5 inches. John Buzzer of New Haven, one spot behind him at 55 feet and 2.75 inches. And then the discus, Weston Onabusco, also placed 2nd at 188 feet and 2 inches. James Leiter of Warsaw placed 4th at 184 feet and 11 inches. And you have teammates Benjamin Boren and Cameron Kaufman, both placing 8th and 9th respectively. Boren at 173 feet 10 inches. Kaufman at 171 feet 9 inches. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it there. Did I miss anything else real quick before we move on? I think I might have missed something here. So 1 second here. I think I missed the other 2 relays for some reason. Let's see. 4x100. Yeah, I missed a couple. So in the 4x100, Elkhart placed 9th at 42.21 seconds. And then in the 4x400, I think we had at least one area team in here, I believe. Is that right? So New Haven placed 14th. That was the only area team. That was the area team that had the highest finish in the 4x400 at 3 minutes and 22.97 seconds. So when you look at overall team scores, not that it's a huge deal by any stretch of the imagination, but Warsaw did finish 5th with 34 points. Westview finished 9th with a tie with 20 points. Churubusco finished in a tie for 13th with 16 points. Lawrence North won the state championship with 47 points. And then let's quickly get to girls track, as we got plenty of stuff to talk about here. So we begin now with the girls track state finals, and we'll look at some notable finishes here. We begin with the meter runs and dashes. We begin with the 100, where Nadia Ford placed as a state champion with a time of 11.68 seconds. You'll hear her name more than once. Meanwhile, in the 200, this was won by, you guessed it, Miss Ford herself at a time of 24.2 seconds. And then in the 400, you had Kristina Petkova of Goshen placing third with a time of 55.87 seconds. And followed by Reagan Furness of Dwayner placing ninth at a time of 57.64 seconds. Emma Kincaid of Bremen placed 10th at a time of 58.24 seconds. In the 800, you had let's see, we had anybody that finished anywhere close? Sophia Hassel was the closest area athlete, I should say, to place in the top 10. She placed 13th at a time of 2 minutes and 14.18 seconds. In the 1600, this was won by Mallory Weller of Concordia. She won a state championship in both the 1600 and the 3200. In the 1600, she finished with a time of 4 minutes and 49.6 seconds. In the 3200, she finished with a time of 10 minutes and 28.26 seconds. So congratulations to the junior Mallory Weller of Concordia of winning state championships there. So we have two Fort Wayne schools having an athlete representing and winning multiple track state championships, which they were both nominated unanimously by ANEC Sports for Performers of the Week. Mallory, in addition to Mallory Weller's performances, take a look at some other notable finishers in both events. You had Sophia Hassel of Lakewood Park at finishing ninth in the 1600 at a time of 4 minutes and 57.15 seconds. And then Daphne Weller, so it's Mallory's teammates, placing 10th with a time of 4 minutes and 57.18 seconds. And then in the 3200, Kenya Leach of Columbia City placed fourth at a time of 10 minutes and 30.6 seconds. And you had Dakota Moore of Northridge placing eighth at a time of 10 minutes and 36.55 seconds. Then we take a look at the meter hurdles. We begin the 100. Kayla Williams-Thomas of Northup placed third with a time of 14.62 seconds. I'm sorry, that's the qualifying round. I apologize on that. Here we go. Now we get to the actual meter hurdle finals. So this is the actual results. So our highest area finisher was Annalise Smart of Homestead. She placed seventh with a time of 14.86 seconds. And then Caleb Williams-Thomas of Northup placed ninth with a time of 15.05 seconds. Let's see here. And then the 300, our highest area finisher was Adele Schlotterbach of Carroll. She placed seventh with a time of 43.9 seconds. And then Annabelle Parker, not too far behind her, finishing 12th at 44.93 seconds. And then the meter relays. We begin with the 4x100. Carroll placed second with a time of 46.68 seconds. And then 4x400. The highest area finisher was Bremen, who placed ninth with a time of 3 minutes and 56.7 seconds. Dwayner placed 11th with a time of 3 minutes and 56.77 seconds. And then finally, the 4x800, Columbia City placed fifth with a time of 9 minutes, 7.65 seconds. And I believe that, and then Homestead was 13th at 9 minutes and 19.66 seconds. Taking a look at let's see here. Pole vault, I believe we'll go next. Alexandra Gates placed third in the pole vault with a score of 11 feet, right on the dot. And then in the long jump, Ellie Campbell of Oak Hill placed seventh with a score of 18 feet and 3.25 seconds. Namaya Anderson of Northup placed ninth with 18 feet and 1.25 inches. And then the shot put, Gwen Howard of Whitco, the Duke commit, the Duke signee, won a state championship in the shot put with a score of 46 feet and 11 inches. Alexa Walter of Heritage placed second at 44 feet and 4.75 inches. Brooklyn King of Jimtown placed 5th at 41 feet and 0.25 inches. Mia Bustos of Eastbrook placed 7th with 40 feet and 40 feet and 9.5 inches. There we go. That rolled off my tongue the wrong way. And then we last get to discus when Howard placed 3rd at 143 feet and 11 inches. And then Cassie Jackson was 14th at 128 feet 7 inches. Team scores look like this. We're only going to really talk about the area teams that placed high in the team rankings. Carroll placed 4th, a tie for 4th, I should say, with 31 points. Concordia placed a tie for 9th with 20 points. Whitco not too far behind them, finishing 12th with 17 points. Carmel once again wins the state championship as a team with 54 points. All right, we got 2 more things to get to. Let's go ahead and get to boys golf. And we're going to very briefly talk about golf because we really need to get to baseball here. And we're running kind of and we're running short on time, I should say. So let's go ahead and get to golf. We begin with sectionals. And we will kick things off with the sectional at South Bend Riley, where this was won by Elkhart with 297 points. They were the only area team to advance to regionals as a team. Ben DeVito of Elkhart placed 2nd individually with 70 points, to which Dane Zweigart of Trinity Greenlawn, Dane won the the sectional championship with 69. And then that's pretty much it in terms of area finishers. Then the sectional at Logan Sports. That sectional was won by the host Berries with 298, leading Twin Lakes by 1. Pioneer finished 3rd with 330, followed by Rochester. Rochester did not make the cut for teams advancing to regionals. And but Rochester did have 1 golfer advancing to regionals without a team summary, and that was Dave Rennie. I hope I pronounced it correctly. If not, I apologize. Of Rochester, he scored a 78, so he advanced to regionals in that regard. They have the Northridge sectional. That was won by Westview with a score of 301. Northridge in 2nd with 310. Fairfield in 3rd with 332. The sectional individually was won by Silas Harr of Westview with a score of 63, a very impressive score for Silas. Luke Carr placed 2nd with 69. Alex Thompson of Northridge placed 3rd with 73. Braden Miller, defending state champion for representing Fairfield, scored 75. And then Caleb Vincent of Northwood placed 5th with 77. Vincent was able to advance to regionals individually without a team summary because he scored a 77, placed in the top 5 overall. You also had Lucas Pro of Concord at 79, and Braden Moore of Prairie Heights also scored 79. Those two also advanced to regionals individually. The East Noble sectional looks like this. Leo won the sectional with a score of 286, beating out Carroll, who scored 289, and then Fremont placed 3rd with 300. Griffin Sheely of Carroll won the sectional with a score of 68, just beating out Brooks Uplighter of Leo, who scored a 69. Carter Dembski of Garrett scored a 70. Caden Mathias of Leo scored a 71. And Fenton Garrido of Leo scored a 71. Obviously, Dembski advanced to regionals with that score of 70. Logan Hartso of DeKalb made it to regionals with a score of 76, as well as Braden Hardley of Angola. The sectional at Warsaw looks like this. If we can hurry here. Let's see. This one's a little bit weird here. So Warsaw won the sectional with a score of 313, just beating out Plymouth in a tiebreaker. Plymouth also scored a 313. Culver Academy scored a 320. Individually, you had Tyson Bear with a score of 70, Breckin Christner with a score of 74, and Mac Holm with a score of 75. Individuals advanced without team summary. Tyson Bear scored a 70, Hudson Kripe a 77, and Javin Gray of 70 with a 78. Javin Gray representing Huntington North. And then the Canterbury sectional looks like this. Homestead won the sectional easily with a score of 279. Bishop Dwayne with a score of 303 placed second. And then Canterbury placed third with a score of 309. Individually, Alex Holder of Bishop Dwayne won the sectional with a score of 67. Caden Baker of Homestead also scored a 67. Hold Orofino of Homestead scored a 69. Ryan Parker of Homestead scored a 71. And then Landon Snyder of Homestead scored a 72. You also had Gavin Haflich of Blackhawk Christian scoring a 73. He advanced to regionals. You had Grant Drummond of Homestead scoring a 74. Wyatt Oberlin of Canterbury with a score of 75. And James Lancey of Dwayner scoring a 75 as well. And then the section hosted by Peru, and I believe this is the last one amongst area sectionals. Is that right? No, I'm sorry. I take that back. The second to last one, if I recall. Really, the main thing is Western won the sectional with a score of 323. Northwestern took second with a score of 326. Lewis Cass in third with 341. Southwood just missed out on advancing as a team with a score of 342. Individually, Griffin Chambers did advance to regionals with a score of 80 for Southwood, as Chambers did advance individually without a team summary. And that was the only area golfer in that sectional to advance. And then lastly, the sectional hosted by Norwell looks like this. Eastford won the sectional with a score of 319. Bluffton in second with a 335. Norwell just beating out Belmont in a tie for third with 346. Individually, Landon Trump of Eastford finished first with a 74, just beating out Trent Nelson of Oak Hill, who also scored a 74. Aaron Folda of Eastbrook placed third with 75. Derek Smith of Norwell scored 80 in fourth. And then Rafe Gerber of Bluffton placed fifth with a score of 82. Nelson obviously advanced without a team summary, as well as London Warner of South Adams, who scored 83, as well as Drew Johnson of Adam Central. My apologies for the technical difficulties here. So my computer almost died for a minute. So now let's go ahead and finish up with boys golf. We'll go ahead and look at regionals that took place at least for some regionals, took place yesterday, and then we had some that took place today. We'll go ahead. The only ones we can really provide are the regionals at Warsaw and Muncie Central, I believe. I don't see anything from Harrison, so really just going to focus mainly on Warsaw and Muncie Central, I believe. We'll kick off with a regional hosted by Warsaw. And in terms of this regional, the regional championship at Warsaw was won by Homestead with a score of 291. Leo placed second with a score of 313. And Bishop Dwayner took third with a score of 313, just beating out Warsaw. And Northridge and Carroll were also not too far behind them as well. Canterbury only 7 points out of third place. So Homestead, Leo, and I'm pretty sure Homestead and Leo did advance. And I think Dwayner also advanced as well. Individually, Braden Miller of Fairfield won the regional with a score of 66. Silas Hara of Westview placed second with a score of 67. Alex Holder of Bishop's Dwayner placed third with a score of 70. Those are the three that advanced to state. And then Holden Orofino at 71. Landon Snyder with a 72. Griffin Havlich with a score of 72. Kenan BT with a score of 72. Ryan Parker, 73. Isaac Summers, 73. Benton Garrido scored of 74. Individuals that advanced without team summary. Miller scored a 66, so his state title defense will stay alive for one more event. Silas Har also advanced with the score of 67, and then David Haflich of Blackhawk Christian, he advanced with a score of 72. And that's pretty much it for that regional there. And then the regional hosted by Muncie Central. Eastbrook put up a good showing in the regional, finishing fourth with a score of 307. But unfortunately, Eastbrook was unable to advance as a team. Individually, however, Landon Trop did finish in a tie for fourth with Dane Stames? Is that right? Dane Starms. I'm sorry. It's really hard to read the writing here. So Dane Starnes of Hamilton Southeastern and Landon Trump did finish in the tie for fourth individually with a score of 72. So Trump continues his season in the state finals representing the Eastport Panthers. And that's all she wrote there. All right, we're almost done with the talk around the corner. Let's lastly get to baseball. We begin with a recap of what's going on with baseball, and we begin with Class 1A. Regional play saw Northfield and Canterbury representing the area in regionals, as Canterbury came back to defeat Trident in the Logansport Regional 6-4, but Northfield unfortunately saw their season come to an end in the hands of Union City 12-0. So Northfield's season comes to an end with a record of 14-17. Canterbury advances to semi-state. They'll travel down to Lafayette Jefferson tomorrow to take on Clinton Prairie at 2 o'clock in a 2-round semi-state format for the 13-8 Canterbury Cavaliers. In Class 2A looks like this. Oak Hill made it to regional since 2006, and they'll continue that season. And they'll extend this season by defeating Lafayette Central Catholic, a powerhouse program in baseball, by the score of 2-1. So Oak Hill, just like the 2016, they're going to semi-state as they bring their 29 record into a very competitive semi-state. They'll take on Wapahani at Oak Hill. Oak Hill is the host of this semi-state. And Wapahani comes with a record of 19-8. And then Jimtown, they made it to regionals. Unfortunately, they were shut out by Boone Grove, a very good Boone Grove Wolves program, who shut out the Jimtown Jimmies 9-0 to end the Jimmy season at 22-8. But they'll take on the Westview Warriors. They defeated Lakeland in extra innings, 4-1. I believe it went to 9 innings. I'll be speaking with Jason Rahn of Westview to talk about the Warriors and previewing that matchup against Boone Grove. But meanwhile, Westview defeated Adams Central in what started off as a competitive contest and ultimately ended up being a blowout in a mercy rule. 11-1 Westview win in 5 innings over the 16-10 Adams Central Flying Jets, who played in their first regional since 2016. Westview puts their 15-11 record into test against the Boone Grove Wolves. The Warriors playing their third consecutive semi-state. They'll take on a very strong Boone Grove program at the Oak Hill semi-state, 2 o'clock p.m., following the matchups with Wapahani and Oak Hill. They begin at 11 a.m. 2 more classes to go. We begin with Class 3A. We then shift over to Class 3A, and we do have several other area schools to talk about here. Northwood, once again, back in regionals, and this time they defeat New Prairie for the first time, I believe I saw since 2017, if I recall. Northwood defeated New Prairie by the score of 3-2 over the New Prairie Cougars. They'll be taking on the Norwell Knights, a team that lost in the sectional championship game last year. They made it back to regionals, defeating the Belmont Braves. They defeat Bishop Dwayne in the Carroll Regional by the score of 2-1. And so Northwood, who comes in with an impressive record of 20-12, they'll take on the Norwell Knights at LaPorte. Norwell comes in with a record of 18-11 as they defeated the 23-9 Dwayne Saints in regional play. And it looks to be a very competitive semi-state when you also factor in the other matchup, Delta and Andrean, both with 20-win seasons. Delta at 22-9, Andrean at 28-3. So this might be one of the more competitive semi-states that you will see this weekend. And then last, we take a look at Class 4A in baseball. Snyder playing their first regional since 2017. Homestead has looked pretty impressive this year, but Snyder dominated Homestead in the Carroll Regional by the score of 9-1. So Brandon Logan, the Snyder Panthers, they're heading to semi-state with a nice, impressive run of their own. Their first regional championship since 2009, if I recall. Snyder will take on Valparaiso tomorrow at 11 a.m. at South Bend Riley. Technically, they actually be playing at Four Winds Field. So actually, they're going to be playing at Four Winds Field on Saturday. They'll take on Valparaiso at 11 a.m., a 23-5 Valpo team facing a 24-6 Snyder program. On the other side of the semi-state, Westfield defeated Harrison Lafayette. So the Westfield Shamrocks will take on the Goshen Redhawks, a team you didn't think would be playing at this point in the season. Goshen playing in one of the more impressive seasons in the history of this program. They came back to defeat the Penn Kingsmen by the score of 4-2 And so Penn, who had a 28-1 record going into regionals, probably one of the biggest upsets in recent memory. The Goshen Redhawks won their first regional since 1981. And so Goshen's going to take on Westview, the Shamrocks, the 22-9 Shamrocks, at Four Winds Field tomorrow at 2 o'clock. So we have area matchups in all four classes. We are guaranteed at least one area team playing the Final Four, which would be Northwood or Norwell. So one of those two teams will be playing for an opportunity to play for state finals. We have other matches across the area looking to punch their ticket to the state finals as well. And I want to make sure I mention this real quick here. Coming up, I'll be speaking with the Norwell head baseball coach, Christian Bohata, as he talks about his Norwell Knights. Other things to know here before we wrap things up. The Indiana Pacers are up 2-1 in the NBA Finals. They'll take on Oklahoma City tonight at 8:30 p.m. on ABC. Also, the Indiana Fever, as you can see right here, the Fever are going to have Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham back for tomorrow's 3 o'clock nationally televised game on ABC as they host the New York Liberty. Indiana had a 2-game winning streak before falling at the hands of Atlanta on Tuesday by the score of, I believe it was 77-58 at Atlanta. Unfortunately, because of the returnings of Clark and Cunningham, no Ari McDonald this time, as McDonald will be waived due to the hardship contract requirements. That's here and there. So that's some national news, of course, across Indiana. At least Indiana is concerned there. One final thing before I turn over to my interviews. I do want to mention this real quick here on a couple points. Number one, the ANEC Male and Female Athletes of the Year vote will be posted soon. My likely estimation will be it will be announced next weekend. So not this coming weekend, but the following weekend. So I would imagine on Saturday would be the day to keep an eye on for a vote to be released. So we're looking at Saturday, June 21st. This would be a 3-day vote, and you would have until Monday, June 23rd to vote. This will be just a one-time vote. So unlike past occasions where we've had, you could vote multiple times, even though I don't really say it, you can vote multiple times in the past. But in this occasion here, because this is the Athlete of the Year vote, I don't allow multiple voting submissions, so you can only vote once. That means you have to sign in when you vote for the Athletes of the Year. You have to have a Google account. You have to sign in, and you can only vote once. So this is a 3-day event. It will end on Monday, June 23rd at noon, and then I will announce the winners of the Male and Female Athletes of the Year the following day on June 24th. Lastly, the ANEC Power 5 will return, but it's going to look completely different from what you've seen in the past. This is now going to be an end-of-a-year type of recognition, and this is to allow me to have some time to transition to other sports, especially since I'm the only one that really does a bunch of anything with ANEC sports. So that means I need to have some wiggle room to find a place to put the ANEC Power 5. Ideally, with football, I think you want to do that one earlier. So football would on a normal year would end on New Year's Eve of that year. So if it's 25-26, you're looking at the end of 2025. For the other sports, you're looking at either May or June of that year. So 2026, for example, you would have something in May or June for the rest of the sports. So that we're talking about basketball, volleyball, golf, cross country, track and field, wrestling, baseball, softball, the sports we cover on a regular basis at ANEC Sports. So I want to make sure I get that out of the way as we are closing in on the end of what would essentially be the first season of the ANEC Sports Podcast. We have 2 more episodes to go. So I'll have another episode next week for anything you missed. If baseball baseball semi-state, and then whatever happens left with the boys golf state finals. And then I'll have one more episode. Hopefully we'll by that point, I would have the winners of the male and female athletes of the year. We'll have an interview with the winners of those 2 votes, ideally, and that would be a good way to conclude this year's ANEC Sports Podcast until August. So, without further ado, let's get to my interviews with Christian Bohata of Norwell Baseball and Jason Rahn of Westview Baseball. So next time, I say so long. It is a pleasure to welcome the head baseball coach of the Norwell Knights, Christian Bohata, as his team is halfway there to a state championship as they prepare for semi-state on Saturday. They go up to LaPorte. They'll take on Northwood at around 12:30 p.m. Central Time, which would be around 1:30 our time here. Coach, how are things going for you on this Thursday afternoon?
Going well, going well. It's a good day. We've been fortunate to have good weather this week.
Yeah, although Saturday does not look too promising, at least in the morning, so it could be a kind of a wet day for your team, at least for the first session. But anyway, let's go ahead and talk about leading up to semi-state. So obviously, you go into the season. You had a very successful first year last season. 2 very good pitchers on that team with Lane Lewis and Cade Shelton. You made it to the sectional finals. You won the Northeast State. You lost to Ole Miss, however, in the sectional championship game, which I know played a big role into the motivation going into this season. This year, you still had a really good season despite not winning Northeast State. And then sectional play, you were able to beat New Haven in a tight contest 2-1, and then Belmont 15-8 to win the sectional. And then you beat Dwayne in regionals 2-1 to get yourself back to the situation in semi-state, something that Norwell has been very familiar with over the course of several years. So, Coach, when you talk about the lead up between last year and this year, just talk about things that you've seen improvement from those 2 seasons and just kind of how this team was able to progress over the course of the season, especially with a different rotation this time around.
Right. Yeah. Last year, obviously, it's a tough loss there in the sectional final in a game that a lot of people expected us to win. And we were young last year. We had Cade and Lane there on the mound, but we just had 3 seniors last year. Eight seniors this year. A lot of experience between those guys, which has played a big part in our run this year. In the off season, our guys have worked hard. They've came together. They've had their nose down and they've worked hard. We played good competition this year. Got some good wins under our belt, and even our losses. A lot of our losses were close losses, 1 or 2 runs. So, those high pressure moments in the regular season is what I look for in a coach to put our kids in. And fortunately, those happened. It's prepared us for this postseason, and we've taken advantage of the opportunities.
Mm-hmm. And this team comes into semi-state 18-11 on the season. You mentioned 8 seniors: Gary Riley, Drew Graff, Adam McBride, Eli Randall, Corbin Neuenschwander, I believe Noah Turk, who's probably one of your best pitchers on the team for sure. We'll talk about the pitching in a matter of moments. Ryan Thornton is one of the other pitchers, as he had a perfect game even earlier this season. Logan Cotton. These are very familiar Norwell names because they've played other sports over the course of the season, whatnot. Talk about what these 8 seniors have brought to this Norwell program, especially with a guy like Drew Graff, who he's kind of a Swiss Army knife, if you will. He does a little bit of everything for your team on offense and defense, and he's going to be going to Taylor University, something that I know his brother's down there, and these are 2 very talented athletes that represent Norwell over the years.
Yeah. The 8 seniors, other than just the experience, they've brought a lot of leadership. Some guys aren't the most vocal guys, but they've definitely led by example to our underclassmen. They've built off the foundation that was already laid at Norwell and the sport of baseball. They just continued our tradition of winning. These guys are competitive. They don't like to lose, and they've responded well when we have lost this year. They didn't ever start pulling apart. They stuck together. Even if we dropped a couple games in a row, they stuck together, stuck with the process, and they're all bought in. That's the biggest thing. Is all 8 seniors are bought in. All 8 seniors don't start. There's some guys that are role players, but the attitude, the effort, that is never a question in my mind between these 8 guys. And then, obviously, when you got a guy like Drew Graff, who this is his 4th year starting varsity, that's huge. He's one of the guys. Him and Logan Cotton are on that team that's been to LaPorte and been in semi-state. So that helps. The other guys that haven't been there, they can lean on those guys, lean on their experience, look to them for leadership. Kind of what to expect, the atmosphere, those kind of things.
Mm-hmm. Now, I want to quickly shift over to the pitching side of things. I mentioned a couple of pitchers earlier with Noah Turk, who pitched in the regionals against Bishop Dwayne. 5 innings in that performance for Noah Turk, 3 strikeouts. I don't know if he gave up any runs in that game. I don't think he did. But anyway, you have Noah Turk on that rotation. Ryan Thorne, Caden Castle, just a junior, doing really well on both ends as a hitter, but also providing some big innings for your team as well.
Yep.
And I mentioned earlier with Ryan Thornton with his perfect game. Noah Shamerlow, we talked about Noah Shamerlow's big performance against Belmont, where he had 2 home runs in the sectional championship game. But Noah also quietly having a nice year on the mound as well. How long did it took for these guys to kind of transition to those new roles on the mound? And just talk about what each of these pitchers bring to that Norwell rotation.
Yeah, like we talked about Caden Lane earlier. Obviously, they threw over 50% of our innings last year combined. So it was a big hole to fill there on our roster. But Caden Castle, Noah Shamerlow, Noah Turk, those were 3 guys, and Ryan Thornton. Those were guys that had gotten some varsity innings last year, not to the consistency that they've got them this year. I think if you look at our stats, we've got 5 guys with at least 20 innings on the mound. So now Noah Turk's got way more innings now because he started our 3 tournament games. But there at the end of the regular season, there wasn't a real outlier. There was 4 or 5 guys with all about the same amount of innings, and that's been huge for us, especially in those big weeks where we were having to play 5-6 games a week. To have that amount of arms, and especially the amount of guys that we can trust with the ball in their hand on the mound, that's been big for us. And then Noah Turks, he's stepped up big this postseason. He threw a heck of a game against DeKalb there when we beat him 3-0, and then this postseason we've been fortunate enough to where it's been spaced out enough he could start every game for us, and he hasn't let us down. He pitches to contact. He's not the most overpowering guy by any means, but he hits spots, and he pitches contact, and he trusts the defense. And we have a great defense, and our guys make plays, and that's what he's relied on. And then Dylan Chisholm's another one that's freshman for us that's been big for us as well. He just as a freshman, he's been in a lot of big spots. Most 15-year-old kids maybe don't make it through a lot of the spots that he's made it through, but he has. He trusts his stuff. He's got some swing and miss stuff that he trusts, and he's thrown well for us as well.
And I believe he leads the team in ERA of like 1.97, if I remember right. So just a freshman, he's getting some meaningful and postseason experience for just a 15-year-old, really making his mark at Norwell High School. As we were talking with Christian Bohata, the head baseball coach of the Norwell Knights here, as I want to talk about your matchup coming up against the Northwood Panthers. This is a team that's 20-12 in the season. Like your team, they are battle tested as well in the Northern Lakes Conference. And one thing that stands out to me about Northwood is not only do they have excellent pitching led by Connor Reed, who's pitching extremely well this postseason, they steal like 82 bags this season. Connor Reed leads the way with 20 of them, and he got I believe it's Nate Dutowski who leads the way with 343 batting average. So they don't really hit the ball for power that much, I don't think. But they're very quick, and that's something. So defense is going to have to play a big role. And something that we've seen so far in the playoffs is 2 of your 3 games have been low scoring games so far because of your defense and your pitching. But what are your thoughts right now with this matchup with Northwood? 2-game semi-state coming up at LaPorte. So not only you have this game in Northwood, and then whatever happens from there. But talk about that matchup with Northwood.
Yeah, and our mentality going into this is you've got to win the first game. So while we're preparing for game 2, we're focused on game 1. Northwood's a good team. They're solid. They're not going to beat themselves. They execute well. They're sound defensively, and like you said on the base pass, they run a lot. Now it's easy to say best way to prevent stolen bases is not let them on base, but that's not going to happen. They may get some guys on base, and and we just got to really stress to our pitchers, mix timings, mix looks, be quick to the plate, and that's stuff that our guys we stress to them all year. So we don't necessarily need to break everything down and rewrite the script here, but at the same time, it's something to be aware of. They're going to apply a lot of pressure on the base pass. I'm excited for the matchup. I think it's a good matchup for us. But we've got to go out and play our game. We've got to go out and execute, and like we have the past 3 games in the postseason here.
Mm-hmm. So I would imagine the keys to the game would be, obviously you want to play good, sharp defense. That's been a key part of your playoff postseason run.
Yeah.
Don't give them extra opportunities from errors and whatnot. The other thing I would say would be another key to the game would be being disciplined at the plates, right? Because it may be a low scoring game this time around. But Coach, what are some other things that that your team will need to do well for you to have a chance to win that first game?
Yeah, offensively, we're going to have to execute. I think our approach at the plate in the postseason has been really good. We've been working at bats. We've been making pitchers work to get us out. Not just on 3 pitches. Our 2-strike approach has been really good. We're gonna have to keep that up. But we're gonna have to get some guys on base to be able to get bunts down, be able to steal bases. Be able to play baseball essentially. We're gonna have to manufacture some runs. We can't just go into the game thinking we're going to hit the ball off the wall every time, because we're not. We're going to have to rely on execution at the plate, and I trust our guys to do that. I think, like I said, I think we're in a good spot. But yeah, we're going to have to execute offensively for sure, and then defensively, like you had mentioned, we're going to have to play sound defensively. We're going to have to make the routine plays. Which I think we'll do. And then on the mound, we can't give up any free bases. A lot of time, we stress a lot of the runs we've given up this year come from walks or hit by pitches. They're free bases. We're going to have to make them earn everything. And then if they do that, then we'll see what goes from there.
Mm-hmm. Now, I savor this last question because you obviously are a Norwell grad. You went to Norwell. You played for Norwell baseball. You're a Norwell lifer, right? And when we talk about Norwell baseball, we talk about Kelby Wainwright and his commitment to Norwell baseball. Part of Norwell's strong success, winning 3 state championships. Last one coming in 2013. Talk about your relationship with the Norwell alumni, Kelby, and the entire community as a whole, and what brought you into coaching this program in the first place.
Obviously, the Norwell community is great. The fans travel well. Whether we were at New Haven or at Carroll, the stands are packed. I think we always have more fans than the opposing team, and that just adds to the atmosphere there. Our kids love it. They appreciate it, and I appreciate our community as well. But the fact that I played here, I saw all of that in 4 postseasons, and now this is my 4th year on the coaching staff. It never goes away. The community is always strong. It's good to have Coach Wainwright in the dugout with me as well. He gives insight, meaningful insight. Also, Coach Hunter, he was a Norwell grad. He's our pitching coach, and he understands the community as well, the tradition. It's funny. We always joke. We always remember when our last game was for Norwell, and that's never going to leave our minds. That we played per se. It just means so much to us. It means so much to the community, and we know that each year we're participating in something that's bigger than ourselves, and that's something we try to stress to our guys is, look, this is bigger than you. This is tradition. This is history. This is what community strives for. And like I said, I appreciate the community, the rich tradition. I'm just fortunate enough to be able to try to continue that on. I know it's big steps to follow. Coach Goodmiller, he's another one. Coach McLean, when he was here, got a state championship. So it's coaches have had success here, but a lot of it is because our players work so hard and they want it so much that it kind of makes my job easy when I don't have to coach effort, when I don't have to coach attitude. I can just focus on the X's and O's per se.
Yeah, that is for sure. Then the rich history of Norwell baseball is strong because of that consistency and the standard what they set there. Final question, final thoughts before we let you go, Coach.
Nope, I appreciate you doing this. I'm looking forward to the weekend. Hopefully, rain stays away for us, and we're able to get games in without getting delayed. It'll be a long drive for us. We're hoping for a long day, but we're hoping to make that 2-hour drive back happy there late Saturday night.
Yeah, that is for sure. As Norwell travels up to LaPorte on Saturday to take on the Northwood Panthers. Coach, good luck to you and your team this Saturday.
Appreciate it. Thanks, sir.
I am here with the head baseball coach of the Westview Warriors, Jason Rahn, as his team is back in semi-state for the third consecutive year. Coach, how are things going on this Thursday afternoon?
Things have been great. It's another day of prep. Get to keep playing.
Yep. Although the weather for Saturday could be a little rough, as there are some chances of showers throughout Friday and Saturday morning, as you'll be heading down to Oak Hill on Saturday. We'll talk about that semi-state in a matter of moments. But, Coach, I want to talk about leading up to this season. Last year, you made it to semi-state again for the second year in a row. At that time, you lost to Rochester in a heartbreaker, walked-off fashion. It was a two-run home run to win that game for Rochester. And so you came in the season knowing that you had most of your team back. You brought back the Engel kids again, Matson, Jackson, Engel. You got Maverick Duvall back. You got all these other guys back. But when you looked at the season throughout the course of the year, you went through your ups and downs over the course of the year, some close losses, some losses against some really good teams. But and once you got to the playoffs, you played your best baseball the most important time of the year. How were your kids able to, learn from these losses and whatnot, and be able to become the best team they can be as they get to June and in the month of June?
Yeah. So yeah, definitely not the year we had hoped for when it comes to wins and losses. You go back and look at it, a lot of close games that we just ended up on the losing end. So you hope, right? You hope that just, kind of builds that character that you're hoping for when things really matter. And I think it did that for our young guys. And we were forced to play some younger guys that maybe weren't going to be in the mix at the beginning of the year. With DeVoe going down in game 2 with a broken hand, that changed the trajectory of some things from an offensive standpoint, especially. But even what it did to our bullpen and defensive setup. So again, like I said, it forced some guys into the lineup that maybe weren't quite ready at that time. So they had to, kind of have baptism by fire as the season went on, and they've handled it. I think like any competitive kid, they were frustrated at times. But again, the whole trust the process thought kept coming out. Our older guys, the Ingles, Mav, even Maverick, just even when he wasn't playing, was a great leader for us. So like those guys did a great job of putting their arm around the younger guys and saying, keep grinding. We're gonna be better. 6 weeks, we hope to be whole and complete as far as health goes, and we got to that point, and I believe we're 11-1 with him back in the lineup, which changed. That's pretty impressive too. And it gave us a little bit of a lift, I think, despite the numbers, but just having the energy guy back.
Mm-hmm. So. And I would be kicking myself if I failed to mention Elijah Zolman leads your team in home runs with 5 home runs, and he's been crucial in key moments this season. But when you look at the sectional, you obviously went to Central Global for this sectional. You had Busco in that second round matchup, took care of business with Cherry Busco, but we kind of felt like this was going to come down to either the winner of that Lakeland Eastside game or Westview. And as it turns out, it ended up being Lakeland and Westview, a big rivalry game. A team you only lost to by 2 runs in the regular season, 7-5, which Lakeland won the conference with over 25 wins on the season. And this was a game, it was a 4-1 game, but this needed extra innings in that game. I believe it went to 9 innings, and it was a scoreless game going into extra innings. But your pitcher in Matt's Engel kept your team in it, with his stellar performance of 7 innings pitch, 10 strikeouts in that contest, keeping your team in that game. Just talk about your team's ability to stay calm and be able to pull away in the end.
Yeah. Obviously 2 teams that know a lot about each other, from in-game experience. The boys know each other. A lot of them play summer ball together. Mike and I know each other well. So, yeah, we know just about everything the other one has to offer. So that's it for he and I. It's probably a little bit of like, well, boys, roll the ball out there and see who's ready to go. And you credit to them. Garrett threw great for them that day. Max was Max for us. I thought he was sharper than his first appearance against them earlier in the regular season. And yeah, he gave us everything. 120 great pitches. I mean, he gave us everything he could. And that was just it was a battle, epic battle, to be honest with you, between two teams that know so much about each other, fans that know each other. And so being able to grind that one out, we definitely knew like it wasn't going to be, they weren't going to roll over, and they didn't. They pieced some hits together against Max that didn't happen until his last inning. Yeah. And so you got to give them credit. They didn't roll over. They're going to be a good squad next year as well.
Yeah, they return a lot from this year's team, so they're going to be a threat going into the 2026 season. But before I talk about regionals, I do want to first mention about Matt Angel. I know this isn't a one-man show. Obviously, you got a lot of guys that are performing key roles for helping your team be able to be where they're at today. But Matt Angel really is kind of the rock of that rotation, so to speak. He's your de facto ace, so to speak, and makes the mound look better because you got that one guy can lead the way and everybody else just follows through. Matt's is going to Huntington University next season. I believe Jansen also going to join with his brother as well. But how much of a pleasure has it been to coach these two kids?
Oh, it's been fantastic. I mean, from day one, as the summer between their 8th grade and freshman year, they, along with a couple other of those freshmen at that time, Gavin, their cousin Gavin, and Massey, those guys, from the moment we gave them a schedule before their freshman year, when it came to weight room stuff, they were on it. And so to have a group of kids led by those two, to have a group that is that dedicated to the personal, aspect of getting better, that's awesome, because honestly, that brings other guys into the weight room that maybe wouldn't do it if it was just up to them. So just taking on that role, saying I'm going to lead by experience because this is what I want from my own baseball experience, that's been huge. So haven't had to necessarily motivate them very much, which is, that's a coach's dream. Sometimes you get kids that you got to just stay on them and stay on them. Not these guys. You just got to let them know when the doors are open and they'll be there.
Yeah, and that's huge because with regionals, you had the match with Adams Central, a team that won 16 games, I should say, on the season. They upset the Bluffton Tigers to win their sectional championships. So you knew you had a tough game coming in on paper with the regional matchup. This was only a 2-1 game going into, I believe it was the third inning, I should say. And you were able to put on 4 runs in that game to allow your team to eventually pull away with 11-1 win in 5 innings. You put up 11 hits against a really good pitcher in Cade Vanderweg of Adams Central, which he's been dominant all season long. You had Jack Matsey with 2 hits and 4 RBIs on the game. And Matt Engel did what Matt Engel does, but it was nice to have other players be able to contribute and be able to pull away with another regional championship. Just talk about some of the things that your team did well in that matchup against a really good pitcher.
Yeah. So, I mean, honestly, I think it starts with the Tuesday before. I mean, we were coming off a high winning against Lakeland, and we came in and we had a light workout where it was just more of like, let's recover from the weekend. And we came in then Wednesday with a full game plan ready to go. Coaching staff did a great job putting something together. We felt pretty confident in what we had coming in against Vanderweg. We kind of knew this is how we need to approach it. And we prepared really hard. And when we walked away, we felt like, well, we over prepared. Like, not to take anything away from the kid and what he had for a season, but I mean, we were more than ready. We got less than what we prepared for. Let's put it that way. Like, we were on top of it. So I was really happy. That's a good feeling when you get into a game and you get into the box for the first time and you come back thinking, okay, like, I'm more than ready for this guy. And so that's where I think offensively we were able to throw the first couple punches, which is huge in a game like that. And then again, you fall back on experience. Guys, half our squad, this is their 3rd time. Adams Central couldn't say that, and so I gotta think that played a big factor for our guys. Even when they bounced back, I mean, they won the second inning. They scored one. We didn't score anything in the second inning, so it was a 2-1 ball game after two. So I thought our punch back then in the third, fourth, and so on, that comes back just on experience just as much as it does just being comfortable.
Mm-hmm. So now it sets up the semi-state. You're going down to Grant County in Oak Hill, beautiful ballpark down in Oak Hill. I believe it's turf field there. So it's a beautiful facility. They host a lot of postseason games there. So you know what to expect with the field. You know what to expect with the environment down there. Got a really good Boone Grove team coming up in the northwestern part of the state. 23-6 on the season. And they got a really talented shortstop in Seth Pitcock, 494 batting average, 622 on base percentage, 32 stolen bases. So you know you got yourselves a handful with him alone, and that's not to include it. You got another team with excellent pitching at Boone Grove. So you know you're going to have a tall task just for that first game. And remember, this is a 2-game semi-state, so you got to get through this game just to even continue to your season for the latter part of the day if you were fortunate enough to make it to this semi-state. You know how difficult it is to win a semi-state from your previous two experiences. Talk about that matchup with Boone Grove, especially knowing that you've been to semi-state the past 2 years. You have that experience going for you, but once again, another tall task, another team with excellent pitching in Boone Grove.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, we're gonna just prepare like we did a week ago. I mean, we've done our homework. We've gathered the information that we think we need to prepare the boys, and we've been getting after it now for a couple of days. Guys we're going to see velo. We're going to see guys that can throw hard. Carrera brings it mid-90s. I mean, he's no joke. And then Pitcock, if he's on the mound, he's low 90s. So 2 guys that can bring it quicker than just about anybody we've seen all year. I mean, we've probably only seen 2 or 3 kids that run it up there like that. And we've been preparing our guys for that. They're looking better and better each day, I will say. But again, as good as they might look for this entire week, it doesn't matter if we don't bring it on Saturday. Again, we're going to rely on our experienced guys. Hopefully, the fact that we've been here. Okay. 2 years ago, we were going up against the guys that had been there time and time again with Ileana. Last year, our experience grinded it out. I mean, we were down to our last strike, and we found a way to not only tie it, but take the lead. And then, Reinert's made an awesome swing for Rochester to kind of rip our hearts out. But that being said, I mean, we've been in situations both good and bad, and we've learned from them. And so you got to rely on that. And again, it just comes down to our preparation. It's what we know, and it's what we can control.
Mm-hmm. And I want to make sure I mention this real quick because you mentioned Javi Carrera moments ago. He leads Boone Grove with 4 home runs as well. So not only does he bring the defense and the pitching side of things and whatnot, he also can hit the ball pretty hard as well. So that's pretty much what to expect with Boone Grove. But I do have one final question for you, Coach. You've been coaching Westview for quite some time now, and you've brought Westview some achievements that they have not had in many, many years. We talked about the conference championships. We talked about the postseason championship, something that's never happened before with semi-state prior to this 3-year run of going semi-state. Never won a semi-state before that. So talk about, after all these years coaching at Westview, I know you have a pretty lengthy baseball coaching career and whatnot. Talk about your time coaching at Westview, what it's like coaching the kids at Westview, and then just things you're going to cherish the most from your time at Westview, no matter what happens.
Yeah, that's a good question. This was season 13. You take out COVID since we didn't play anything. But, I've been here 14 years, 16 total. I was 2 years as an assistant under Coach Mischler. It's crazy. It's been that long, to be honest with you. And, if they still have me, I plan to ride it out till 2035. I think that's when my math is right on my youngest boy graduating. So, it's been quite a journey. We've had some pretty cool moments throughout the time. And, obviously these last 3 years are super special because we've gone further than any team can ever say they've gone. There's been good teams that we've had in the past that we felt like, man, these guys could have been here too. But that, we all understand baseball on any certain day, another team could win. And so it's great. I love what we've built from a camaraderie standpoint. I mean, we really are It's a baseball family. A lot of guys come back. I'm getting a lot of messages from guys that, have been gone for 8 years now. Congrats. Can't wait to see what you do Saturday, that kind of stuff. People pop in on practice time or, even poke into the dugout just to say, hey, good luck. Just having that's fantastic. Like, you've done more than just like coach baseball and won some games. And that really is more important to us. One thing that we absolutely love is seeing how many guys we've put on, that helped achieve their dream of continuing playing after high school. I think the number's 25 after 14 years. And so that's something that, that's on obviously the kid and their work ethic, but also like our coaches do a fantastic job helping these kids get them ready to potentially have the opportunity to go play at the next level. That's a lot of fun for us too. I wish we could see them more in the spring, but we're busy with our own season. But it's always fun to get messages or catch up, with social media the way it is now, you can see how guys are doing. But yeah, it truly is it's a family. And we love what we've built and hope to continue to build with the future kids coming up.
Yeah, that is for sure. Definitely a family up at Westview for sure, and it built a great culture up there in Topeka. Coach, any final thoughts before we wrap up this interview?
No, can't wait to keep prepping. Can't wait to see how the boys come out and play. Ultimately, it's every kid's dream is to have an opportunity to possibly get into a state championship. We're 2 games away, and I think they're more ready than they ever have been.
Mm-hmm. All right, so good luck to you, Coach, and the Westview Warriors baseball team as you prepare for the Boone Grove Wolves at Oak Hill on Saturday. Good luck, Coach, on Sunday State.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you for watching the ANEC Sports Podcast. Please like this video and like the page ANEC Sports on YouTube. Let people know that the ANEC Sports is on YouTube. Also like our Facebook page at Around the Northeast Corner and follow either Around the Northeast Corner and Sam Frick on Twitter/X. We're also on Instagram as well. Just look for ANEC Sports or Around the Northeast Corner and you will find us there. You can also follow the man himself, Sam Frick, the founder and editor at Around the Northeast Corner, for other additional content. This has been an Around the Northeast Corner presentation.